But remember that every time you do this, it's different. It changes. The people are different. You think, well, we all did this and we were great, but yeah, that was a year ago. That was 2 years ago. Now the CFO is different. The CISO is different. The CIO is different. So you're doing that. Sometimes you do the same thing with a different group of people because it may even be the same exercise. I would update it, hopefully, but you remember that the organization is always changing. The world is always changing. You know, if we did an exercise today, Bikash, it'd be very different than what we would have done 1 year ago before COVID hit, you know, so hard. The reality is that everything, it's a moving target. You're never done, but I would celebrate success when you accomplish something, you know, have a party, if you will. No, enjoy it. You know, you accomplish something, move on, and know that you're going to constantly be hopefully improving. It's not like a destination, it's a journey. And so you want to constantly improve in your approach to dealing with cyber threats.
That's a very important thing that you mentioned. It's not a destination, it's a journey. So Dan, in 2021, what are some of the things which you think as cybersecurity professionals we should look out for, which could be some interesting technologies, which could be some interesting trends, anything that the cybersecurity professionals should look out for in 2021?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Every year I do a top 21 or top whatever the number is. This is 2021, so 21. Last year it was 20 for 2020. I do the top predictions from all the security vendors in the industry. So you go to Lohrmann on cybersecurity, Lohrmann, Lohrmann on cybersecurity, and you'll see this list. I've done it annually for about a decade now. And it's not my predictions, but it's what all the top vendors are saying. So, you know, certainly a lot of experts are pointing to ransomware getting, you know, evolving, getting more complex, you know, changing where, you know, a lot of times they're stealing the data before they encrypt it. So they're hitting you twice. And if you don't pay, they threaten to release your data. Ransomware is a big one. Working from home, Bikash, has changed so much. You know, threats are just coming in organizations in so many different ways. People a lot of times using home computer equipment, maybe home routers, even some of the technical difficulties we've had today. You see, it's challenging when people aren't in the office. So, you know, looking at their whole digital transformation, which is really occurring at lightning speed, the good news is there's a lot of really positive things happening. The bad news is there's also more risks that are being introduced into business processes because people are working from home. So a lot of the vendors are pointing to different things, like they're saying your home network is like headquarters for the hackers. And you know, some very entertaining examples in that blog that people can go to and read about. We can post the blog if people want to know that. But artificial intelligence is certainly, and machine learning is becoming more and more central. And it's being used against organizations. So you need to be thinking hard about, you know, how are you going to automate a lot of your processes? That's a big area. And then one more I'll mention, movement to the cloud. I mean, so much is moving to cloud, you know, cloud security, cloud platforms, and the cloud security is becoming so important. A lot of people say this in the US, you know, hey, I'm moving all my data to the cloud. I'm moving all my processes to the cloud. You know, Google does it better than we do, or Microsoft does it better than we do, or AWS, Amazon Web Services does it better than we do. So, but what they miss, Bikash, is that you're still responsible for that end-to-end security. Even if you've got an AWS server, maybe they've got a great data center, maybe they've got security practices, but your people are still administering that, or you're still running that business process, or you're still running that end-to-end security for your customers and your clients. So you can't just say, well, I'm just outsourcing it all to Microsoft or AWS. So really, cloud security is becoming even more important, and really something that organizations need to really take a look at. What is their processes? One word, you know, a term that we use a lot in the U.S. is SASE, S-A-A-S, SASE, or S-A-S-E. Not sassy like S-A-S-S-Y in the U.S. It's like, you know, it's S-A-S-E, SASE. Look it up, read about it. It's certainly a hot area for a lot of people.
SASE and zero trust.
Correct.
So interestingly, what you mentioned, and I fully agree with you, the attack surface all of a sudden has changed so dramatically for
Exactly.
organizations
Yeah.
that today people actually don't know of all the assets they have. They don't know the attack surface, and it's continuously changing. Even the home router, the system which end user is using from home, these are all now part of the extended attack surface, right? Then you have the cloud, and teams are creating new cloud assets, and cloud interestingly scales everything. It scales security. It can also scale insecurity, both together. So I am a big believer of cloud, and I believe that cloud in the long run is going to create a much more safer world if done right. And I am kind of very confident that we will do it right as an industry, because there is business in there. So if there is a business driver, it will get done, right? So, but in the interim, this time is very vulnerable, because a lot of time people who are just moving to the cloud are not aware of the configurations, the way it should be done. A lot of people are not aware of MongoDB having the default kind of configuration is insecure.
Yep.
So, like, since we monitor the kind of overall internet, I recall, I guess there's around 500,000 open databases out there right now,
Yep.
which is quite crazy. People just did not configure it right, and these are all just out there open. So these are some very interesting new challenges. But on top of it, I would love to probably add one thing, which is one of the biggest challenge which we as the industry face, is that when it comes to security, there are just too many things that we need. Every vendor is going to come and say, you know what, you need this, you need that, and none of this talks to each other. So there is a need for consolidation of cybersecurity. And how could that consolidation happen? It could happen probably in many ways, but one or a few interesting trends which are out there, which could probably shape the future. One is zero trust, which is in other words, is a kind of consolidation, right? I mean, you eliminate a lot of things and put everything into a single place.